Hello, and you remember in May of this year, we had record rainfall, 3 times the average amount of rain that we get in the month of May. What that did was literally fill up our system with water, especially Lake Okeechobee, which caused the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to begin the discharges to the east and to the west from the lake. While the Corps of Engineers was doing that, the South Florida Water Management District, operating under an emergency order from Governor Scott, is doing 24-hour day operations, doing whatever we can to move water, to make space available to move more water out of Lake Okeechobee to the south. Now, along with what the state is doing, there are some long-term projects that involve the federal government that will create more storage. But I say these are more in the years to come under long-term projects. Eva Velez, who is in charge of Everglades Policy here at the district. Eva, can you explain more some of these longer-term projects?
I sure can, Randy, no problem. So as part of our system, what happens is that, as you can see here, Lake Okeechobee, and you see these blue lines, which are the canals that go out to the St. Lucie and the Caloosahatchee, we have damaging discharges. We have too much fresh water that goes out to those estuaries. And so the state of Florida has led the effort with the federal government to try to fix that problem, bring relief to those estuaries, and put the water back in a natural flow down into the southern part of our system. The way that we do that is by having a partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. That's part of the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Program. And so over time, the state of Florida has spent $2.3 billion with a B on this effort, and the federal government has spent about $1 billion less than the state of Florida has. And so we are fully committed to that effort. And as part of that, we're building 3 very large reservoirs to the east, to the west, and to the south of Lake Okeechobee. And we hope to do one to the north as well.
When you bring up the one to the south, this is the one that is currently in Congress seeking authorization, ultimately appropriations. This we call the EAA reservoir. It's very unique in that Senate Bill 10 passed in Florida directed the Water Management District to design and plan a reservoir to hold X amount of acre feet, which you'll explain, south of the lake. And the time frame to submit that to Congress was very, very short, much shorter than the normal planning process of 3 years would be. It actually was a matter of months.
Yes, it was.
Through a series of public meetings and a lot of hard work on your staff, the district staff's part, that the district was able to plan, design the reservoir that's going to be right down in this area and submit that to Congress. This is a project that also requires 50% from the federal government. Can you talk about this particular project?
Yes, I can. And so the EAA reservoir is one that has been on all of our minds since 2016, really, when the work began to get it into Senate Bill 10 in 2017. And we're really proud of our work with it. Our team, everyone at the district pulled together to make sure that we met the intent of the legislature, because we heard the residents of Florida wanted more relief for those estuaries. And so the EAA reservoir project is in this area of the system. So again, Lake Okeechobee, the EAA, and these are an existing set of stormwater treatment areas that we have today that go down to the water conservation areas. So right in that perfect spot where you can connect to all of the existing infrastructure, we formulated a new reservoir that's about 10,000 acres with a capacity of 240,000 acre feet of storage that will work together with a new stormwater treatment area. And what that is, a stormwater treatment area is a constructed man-made wetland that cleans phosphorus before it goes to our precious Everglades. A 240,000 acre foot reservoir is as large as some of the cities that we have in our area. So we're talking about a massive infrastructure project. When you look at what the benefits of that project can provide to the northern estuaries, not just the greater Everglades, but also to the north, together with all the projects that we have authorized as part of the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, it can reduce the number of events, those harmful freshwater discharges, by 63%. it can also increase the amount of time in between events. So that's the proposed project. It also includes improved conveyance from Lake Okeechobee south into the proposed reservoir. But importantly, this project works together with a series of other features in the southern part of our system that are already authorized by Congress in 2016 that opens up the bottom of the system that we need in order to make that the most effective that it can be. So this project up here, the reservoir, we planned it very quickly. Yeah. We led that effort, and we submitted it to the Army Corps of Engineers, to the highest levels of the Army Corps of Engineers in late March. And we were so happy to see that the Office of Management and Budget gave it the clearance to move forward to Congress in the middle of July. So today it sits with Congress, awaiting approval for the next Water Resources Development Act of 2018. So we're excited to find out what happens.
Absolutely. 2 more large reservoir projects that are well under construction that have managed to make it through the authorization process in Congress are one on the St. Lucie River, which is the C44 reservoir. Once again, these are both very large, and Eva will explain the purpose. And then on the west side, with the C43 reservoir, which is on the Caloosahatchee. Both of these play a role in help during the discharge times. They also take a lot of basin runoff, but these are 2 major projects that are part of the federal-state partnership. And if you can give us an update on these 2 reservoirs.
Sure thing. So before I go into the east and the west projects, the reservoirs, I want to make sure I highlight that the state of Florida since the 90s has been investing in Everglades restoration, and we're up to about $6 billion in that effort. So huge commitment. Again, I can't say it enough about how much the state of Florida has done.
And we're hoping our federal partners will come through with their part of this whole thing.
We need that part too to make sure that we move forward and make progress. We can't do it alone. Right. We need that federal funding. And so on the east side of Lake Okeechobee, as we look towards what is Martin County and then the St. Lucie River and estuary, the C44 reservoir project sits about right here. And that one is under construction. Part of it is with the Army Corps of Engineers under construction, and the stormwater treatment area and pump station is under construction with the Water Management District. And so that should be done within the next year. And we're very excited because that one will provide immediate relief, both from a water quality and volume perspective to the St. Lucie estuary, as well as the basin. So there's the lake, the river, and then the basin in between also has runoff. And so that will help with that too. On the west side of Lake Okeechobee, the Caloosahatchee watershed is very large. As you can see, that distance is quite long. And so what happens for the Caloosahatchee is that it gets way too much water in the wet season and not enough in the dry season. So the reservoir that is also under construction, it's about 10,000 acres, and it will hold about 170,000 acre feet of water, so it'll be very deep, and it has a lot of capacity. It will capture some of that fresh water that's too much in the wet season, hold it, and re-deliver it for the Caloosahatchee estuary when it needs it in the dry season. So one of the things that we look at, which is really important, is how many events happen of too much fresh water in our estuaries, because as you know, estuaries are a mix of fresh and salt water. So how much salt, the salinity of those estuaries is really important to the health of that ecosystem. So these projects that we've talked about, reservoirs and storage and stormwater treatment areas to the north, to the east, west, and south of Lake Okeechobee, one of the really great benefits of these storage reservoirs is that it helps reduce how often those events happen to those estuaries. And what that does is it lets the estuaries recover a little bit better. It gives them more resilience for when you do have an event, too much freshwater, they don't start out in such a bad condition. They're already a little bit healthier, so they are able to recover. So we think about resiliency when we're looking at how these really important billion-dollar investments. That's part of what we look at as a team.
Thank you, Eva. Very interesting information, and we'll be back next week with another operations update for you. And one of the topics we'll be talking about will be emergency estuary protection wells, a very interesting concept that could provide real relief for some of these discharges. Now, if you need more information, go to our website, which is www.sfwmd.gov for any information that you're looking for regarding the high water conditions that we're currently in. And we'll see you next week.